Okay, guys, outside wrist grab. This is, again, part of the white and yellow belt series. We're going to start off showing you concept, how you teach the technique. This is absolutely not how it would be applied on the street. I mean, I guess technically you could, but it's just not going to happen. You see that I'm doing the basic white belt level outside wrist defense, or it's an outside wrist lock. I'm ducking below the technique. That's why I crouch down. You'll see it again from this side. See how I'm bending at the knees to get below the technique, and I'm showing how that's done multiple times. Bending at the knees, getting under the technique. That way you don't have to muscle it. As you can see, my arm staying pinned to my own body. I'm just bending at the waist, and I'm bending at the elbow. If I try to extend beyond, somebody bigger and stronger than me is going to be able to keep the wrist grabbed with their hand. So there I am, getting below the technique. I'm keeping my arm close to my body. And here we are, a more practical variation in how it'd be done in the real street. Guys, you're not going to snatch this out in midair in the real world like you see in the movies. Steven Seagal snatching somebody's wrist and they're flying through the air. That's how it looks in the movies. In reality, this is an example of how it could be applied. So we're doing a pummeling drill. He's going to bring up his right hand because he was going to try to pull me down as part of the drill. And then I'm shrugging it off. And instead of going to a Russian 2-on-1, I go to a outside wrist lock. And in reality, his wrist would probably snap and he would go down. Again, we were drilling a 1, 2, 3 pummel. And then whatever response he breaks away and grabbed me by the back of the head. It could have been something else. Here we are again. That's how it might be applied in real life. Guys, I have used this as a police officer in real life against drunks. It's great against drunks. I've used the outside wrist lock while clinching in jiu-jitsu against people. It absolutely works in the right context. You don't see it in MMA because of the gloves and the wraps. It's not a realistic thing to do in MMA. But guys, I swear to you, this works in the streets when applicable, when it is actually something you could do. You're not just going to randomly be able to do this. You train it enough, you will see the opportunity. It's very likely that they might grab your lapel, and so you'd pin the wrist against the body and take the wrist that way. Again, we're going to slow this down. This was a pummeling drill. We were working on pummel 1, 2, 3, and then we would take turns breaking away and doing something. In this example, he was pulling out and going to a high clinch, like putting his hand behind my neck. You'll see that here in a second. We're doing the 1, 2, 3 pummel. It's a separate drill from just pummeling. That way, here we go. His hand goes to the back of my head, and I roll it off like you would if you're going to go to a Russian 2-on-1. But instead, I chose to go to the wrist lock because, guys, that is a realistic approach to when and how you would use it. In reality, the wrist would snap and they would go down. Remember that when you use this technique, chances are you're going to break the wrist because somebody's going to try to resist, and by that time, it's going to be too late, and it's going to snap. Now, are you going to be able to learn how to do this from this video? Probably not. Again, this is part of my curriculum video showing what is the bare minimum requirements for that belt level. This is the outside wrist lock, and this is one of the requirements to get your yellow belt. I purposely scrapped everything in Hapkido I didn't think was actually real world applicable. But guys, the wrist locks, I've used them a lot as a police officer in the last 24 years. They are definitely real world applicable if you know how to do them and when to do them. And the best way to get to a wrist lock is in a clinch. When you're clinching or up close to somebody or when they've grabbed you. You're not going to do the magic Steven Seagal plucking their arm out of midair as they throw a punch at you and you magically blend with it. Just is going to happen. See how I've connected with him? His arm is up against my chest. I'm pushing away his face. I'm extending him out, taking away any structural strength from his body. And then I'm going down and grabbing the wrist. Again, keeping it close to my center and then I'm keeping the wrist low. I'm turning with my footwork there, using the hand in an outward wrist lock motion, and they go down. And again, in reality, it would probably break the wrist. We're training. Colton is an excellent training partner. He knows to go with the technique so he doesn't get a broken wrist. And there you go. That's an outside wrist lock and a very realistic approach on how to use it. Again, I've definitely used this in real world scenarios. A lot of people see people training the wrist locks, and you see this in traditional Hapkido. People will be watching traditional Hapkido and they'll see people training wrist locks and they're like, oh, well, that's not going to work. Well, remember, you're looking at someone training the wrist lock as opposed to actually how it would be applied in a real life scenario. You have to drill these techniques in a manner that's super easy to learn and then go to the next step. Where in this particular example, I was using, I'm doing a come along technique like you see in law enforcement, and I was using the wrist lock. All right, that should do it. That was the outside wrist lock. Another name for it is Kotegishi or Kotegishi. Hope you liked it. Please like, subscribe, and share, and let me know what you would like to see on the channel. Take care.
Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out.